Tom Underwood joining us from State of the U for the next half hour or so. We'll take your comments and questions, debate topics as well. Miami's the focus. You can extend it, obviously, to all of college football as long as it's got a national landscape or ACC landscape to it. Is this question on the feed right now as obvious as I think it is? Luke Walker, tremendous supporter of the channel, but still, do you think there will be a lot of decommitments because of the abnormal amount of commitments? Well, that would seem to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I would ask, have there been an abnormal amount of commitments at this point of the year?
I don't think there's been an abnormal amount of commitments. There's been an abnormal amount of decommitments. Bud Elliott, who used to be a colleague of mine at SB Nation, is now over at 247 Sports. He wrote a piece about this. There have already been more decommitments in the 2021 recruiting class than any two of the last 3 years combined. So whether that's 18, 19, and 20s classes, any two of those 3 years, you combine them, has not seen as many decommitments as have already happened in this class. So it's a little bit different. You have guys, I think, jumping in the boat at a place to secure their spot just because things are so uncertain. You're losing this evaluation time for the coaches, but you're losing all this exposure time for these players. And I know that people have their thoughts and feelings about 7-on-7 football, but you get out there and you see a kid and you see, oh, he grew a little bit, or he looks a little bit more fluid, or, now I'm going to pay attention to him when he gets pads, or I want to make sure that I get this 7-on-7 elite team down to my campus. When you have the Louisiana Bootleggers in town for an Adidas tournament in Miami, you want to make sure that they hit Coral Gables for a visit. You know what I mean? If there's a team camp, hopefully the 7-on-7 team will come and have an individual camp, so those players will be able to do those things. You're losing that exposure. Spring football, both high school and college. The evaluation period is still gone. I think that the dead period's been extended to June 1st already, if not further. So there's a lot of uncertainty on both sides. So you really have to rely on the work that you've already done. And so some of these guys who are late bloomers or might have really started to take a major step forward as juniors into their senior year, maybe a guy who's at a school behind a Power 5 recruit as a freshman and sophomore. So now, cool. Deontay Burton is gone, whoever, you know what I mean? And so I get to step up into that big slot. And you might have, but then you ride the wave of your junior year into senior year. Athletics is like academics. Everybody says your junior year is the biggest year for getting into college. You know what I mean? It's that same thing, but you're losing all that time. So you have guys who are jumping in the boat, and then they might not be 100% in. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm going to commit to this school so I have a spot as a recruit to go somewhere for free to college in this class. And then obviously, we've seen it with Miami in years past. We've seen it with other schools. Look, I'm going to commit here, and then I'm going to really work for and wait for that offer that I want. And then I'm going to decommit and go there. But yeah, there's a lot of that going on, and a lot of people who would otherwise extend out their recruitments who don't have the ability to do that. If you're not a really premium blue chip guy, 4-star, 5-star, teams will wait on those guys. You know what I mean? If it was a Justin Flo in last year's class who didn't announce until National Signing Day, everybody in America was waiting on him. You're not going to say, oh, well, he hasn't made his choice, we're going to move on. No. He's the number one linebacker in America. We'll wait as long as waiting needs to happen. But some of these other guys where it's marginal between them and someone else, you might prefer them, but you're not going to hold up your process in favor of their process. So there's a lot of moving parts going on, and we'll see when things open up and how it opens up, because this whole coronavirus thing has changed the timeline for everybody pretty much. Malik Curtis, from Bishop Vero. I'm going to learn your name 100%, I promise. But since he just committed, I don't think that we're necessarily close on anybody else. There's been talk. Obviously Miami's pushing for Jason Marshall from Miami Palmetto. He's a 5-star kid. He's a top 30 player in America, 6'2", 180. He's like every other 5-star that has been down here, whether it's a Tyson Campbell, Pat Surtain, Josh Jobe. I know that he, transferred away for that last year to do prep school because he aged out of eligibility in high school. Any of those guys, Jason Marshall, is comparable both in size and skill. So he's a guy that we're going after. I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen, unfortunately. Nyland Green from Covington, Georgia. He's a guy that Miami has been trying to make some inroads with. 6'2", 183. He's a 4-star guy, so another blue chip. We'll see what happens, but he's a very talented player that Miami is definitely pursuing as well. And I mean, there's other guys with offers. Markevious Brown, who's at IMG Academy. I forget where he's originally from. Deuce Chestnut from Camden in New Jersey is a guy. And there's, some other guys locally, Ricardo Hallman and Kevin Knowles from University School and MacArthur, respectively. If you get a Yule Keith Brown, you could consider playing him on defense, although I would not do that. So there are options, and there's probably going to be more that pop up on the board. And luckily, that's a position where there are multiple blue chip guys or blue chip caliber guys in South Florida in every class. But like I've spoken about before, it's incumbent upon Mike Rumph to go get those guys and get them to commit and get them to sign. And that's been a struggle, especially at the top end of the recruiting list for cornerback ever since he's gotten here. Mike Rumph is persistent. He'll get a couple 3-stars and he'll close with a high 3-star, low 4 or a 4-star at signing day every single year, the 5 years he's been here. Go look it up. We wrote about it. It will happen that he will get somebody towards the end. I would just also like to start shopping the name brand section first. You know what I mean? I don't always need, great value paper towels. I would like to get Brawny. Just, hey, okay, this is the one that everybody wants. If I'm a sneakerhead, if you want to talk about shoes, I don't want to get the knockoffs. I want to get the originals. So those Royal Toe ones today, yes, let me go get those J's that I want, the ones on the shelf that everybody wants. I'm going to go get them. I've secured that bag, not having to then figure out, okay, well, what else can I get that's kind of similar, looks all right. Okay, they got these other ones. There's whatever. I don't want to have to keep doing that. And that's where things are going to have to be seen throughout the rest of this recruiting class. But I think that there are options, number one, right now. And hopefully, if things open up kind of soon, we can start to get guys on fields where we can evaluate things. Other names are going to pop up as well.